The billionaire Sackler family is expected to escape criminal liability for its role in the opioid epidemic. According to David Sirota, legislation to block a get-out-of-jail-free card has suddenly stalled in Congress, just as the U.S. Chamber of Commerce started lobbying on the bill, thus intensifying the battle over whether courts can grant sweeping legal immunity to those accused of corporate crime. Founder of the Daily Poster and friend of the show, David Sirota, joins us to discuss. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And so the Chamber of Commerce has had an interesting couple of years. You know, they swung into the Democratic camp in 2018 and again in 2020, kind of backing suburban Democrats there. Recently, Kevin McCarthy has kicked them off all of their strategizing around fighting back against reconciliation, saying that the Chamber of Commerce no longer welcome with Republicans. Yet what your reporting shows or suggests is that the Chamber of Commerce still draws a lot of water in this town. What's going on here?
So the current court system, or at least some courts, allow for non-debtors in bankruptcy cases to essentially get legal immunity in bankruptcy cases. So in the case of the Sacklers, Purdue Pharma declared bankruptcy. There is a proposed settlement in which a corporate-friendly court is proposing to essentially immunize the Sackler family and its entire corporate empire from future litigation. So you've got a number of state attorney generals, for instance, who want to bring individual cases against the Sacklers. If this bankruptcy settlement goes forward, those cases would be made impossible. They would be blocked. And so in Congress, there's a bill called the Sackler Act, to essentially say that courts can't issue these broad, sweeping legal immunity deals to corporate power brokers like the Sacklers. That bill had been moving forward, but is now stalled, and it is stalled in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce starting to lobby on the bill. Now, you might ask, what does the Chamber of Commerce really care about this? Isn't this only a situation that is mostly about Purdue Pharma, not necessarily the wider corporate community? Well, actually, that's not the case. It does potentially affect the wider corporate community in this way, that if the bill actually passed, corporations they could pull all sorts of shenanigans, continue to walk into corporate-friendly courts, declare bankruptcy, and use these kinds of releases, these kinds of settlements, to shield their executives from liability, to shield their executives from law enforcement officials like state attorneys generals from going after them.
Yeah, and so what is the Chamber of Commerce's, if we allow to just play devil's advocate for a second, do they have a complaint about language being too broad? Is that essentially their argument, that the language is so broad that the legal challenges to the rest of the corporate community would have some sort of adverse trickle-down effect?
Well, the Chamber of Commerce refused to answer our question about how it's lobbying, what it's lobbying for. I mean, it's not clear. Are they lobbying against the bill? Are they lobbying to change the bill? I mean, it's really not clear. But what I can say is that the argument for these kinds of releases is that when a company goes into a bankruptcy court, the court should have the power to essentially create a clean slate. That's been the argument for these kinds of releases, that it's basically give the courts the power to essentially start things over from scratch. But of course, it can be abused, and legislation hasn't passed in Congress to prevent companies from venue seeking, which is to say that Purdue is in Connecticut, but Purdue sought out a corporate-friendly court in New York, a court that's known to give out these kinds of releases. So they were able to actually shop for a court knowing that court was more prone to give them a get-out-of-jail-free card.
David, do you have a sense of whether this bill, the Sackler Act, is now dead, or is it just stalled for now?
Look, I think it's stalled. There is some bipartisan support for it. There was a hearing about it in the summer. I think there's a chance it could still pass. I mean, you've got Connecticut Attorney General is appealing the proposed settlement. The Biden administration is reviewing the proposed settlement. It's Justice Department. Whether it's going to issue an objection or not, that remains an open question. I still think there's a chance something like this could move forward. But again, the bill does threaten the general ability of powerful corporate executives to go into bankruptcy court and get immunity for themselves. So that's always going to be a tough lift in a Congress that often answers to those same corporate executives.
And I would just ask finally, is this a bill that you think has enough teeth to create a deterrent effect against exactly what you just described, in that you can't just declare bankruptcy and grab your get out of jail free card? Is the bill strong enough? Does it have sort of the legislative teeth that it needs to deter future executives from behaving the way Sackler executives did?
Oh, I think, look, if this bill actually passed, I think it would create a kind of deterrent. It would basically say, even if you can venue shop, you can look for different courts, that this is now the law of the land in all courts. So in some ways, it would take away the incentive to venue shop, because it would say, now this is the law. You cannot walk into bankruptcy court and expect to get a kind of liability shield for your entire corporate empire and individual executives. And that's probably why, frankly, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has now involved itself in this, because it probably knows that if a bill like this passes, it changes the entire dynamic. So whether, again, they're trying to water it down, whether they're trying to block it, it's hard to know exactly what they're trying to do. But certainly this would change the dynamic if a bill like this passed.
Great reporting, David, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we'll have more Rising coming up right after this.